1 year and 2 months ago, on March 22nd of 2024, we traded in our 7-month-old Fisker Ocean One with about 5,500 miles on it into a Volvo dealership in New Jersey. And it was essentially a straight up trade for a 2023 Volvo XC40 Recharge Ultimate trim with more than 1,000 fewer miles than we had on that Fisker Ocean One after 7 months. At the time, I said that Volvo was rescuing us from drowning in the Fisker Ocean One. Now, actually, before I keep going, I think what I'm going to have to do for this one is switch hats. What do you guys think? You think this hat will be worth something at some point in the future? I don't know. Anyway, back to the story. As I said, at the time, I credited that Volvo XC40 Recharge Ultimate trim with saving us from drowning in the ocean because we were essentially able to do a straight up trade to get that vehicle, right? Values were plummeting on the Fisker Ocean One, and we were able to get a less than a year-old vehicle with more than 1,000 fewer miles than we had on the Fisker Ocean One at the time. And so here we are 14 months later, and once again, this Volvo XC40 is in a position to rescue us from the mistake of the Fisker Ocean once again. Here's what I mean. Earlier this week, my wife convinced me to go ahead and just see what that vehicle would be worth on Carvana. We're looking to shrink our lives. We've got 5, 6 EVs if we count our sons. And frankly, we've got 3 cars between my wife and I. And so we're paying insurance on it. We have to pay to charge it, right? So let's see what this thing's worth. And to my surprise, Carvana has made us an offer for almost $10,000 more than we paid for this vehicle 14 months ago. So I talked to my wife about this. I talked to my buddy Adam from Adam's Everything EV, and this just seems like a no-brainer. So here today, we are taking our Volvo XC40 Recharge Ultimate trim, which over the course of the last year, my wife and I have put a little over 8,000 miles on that vehicle. So now it's got, just under 13,000 miles on it. So once again, it's rescuing us from the mistake of the Fisker Ocean One because it's now going to provide us with a check from Carvana in excess of the 30 grand that we lost on the Fisker Ocean One. So join me for this one as I reintroduce you to our Volvo XC40 Recharge, say goodbye to it, and walk you through a little bit of the economics. There's not much to the economics. It's a no-brainer. They're offering us almost 10 grand more than we paid for the vehicle 14 months ago. I thought appreciating vehicles was a thing of the COVID era, but apparently it's not. And it's working to our benefit here in that, again, it's allowing us to recover more than the 30K that we had lost on that Fisker Ocean One decision. Hey, welcome back. This is Brian G, the EVOG, and you're joining me here in my driveway. And behind me is our 2023 Volvo XC40 Recharge Ultimate trim. And we've had this car for exactly 1 year and 2 months. We picked it up on March 22nd of 2024. And as I mentioned, it's a 23 model year vehicle. This is the vehicle that allowed us to get out of the Fisker Ocean. I was able to essentially get this vehicle for pretty close to what we were able to get in value for the Fisker Ocean after 7 months of ownership, where that vehicle depreciated like you would not believe, given the bankruptcy situation with the company. I'll leave a link in the description as well as in the end card of this video that covers that entire experience of transitioning from the Fisker Ocean into this Volvo XC40. For those of you who've been to the channel before, you know we name all our cars, right? And this one is named Ironheart. And this has been my wife's daily driver for the last year plus. But today, we're actually taking it to sell it to Carvana. So after a year and 2 months, we are parting ways. But we hadn't planned on doing this. The reason we ended up doing this is Carvana is offering us significantly more than we paid for this vehicle a year and 2 months ago. So join me for this one as I walk you through the car a little bit, as well as the economics on this in terms of why, and the reasoning. They're not just economic, but some of the reasoning as to why we've decided to go ahead and accept that offer. All right, so let's start with a quick walk around. I mean, this is a pretty substantial looking vehicle here. This one is riding on 20-inch wheels and has a very classic Volvo look to it. This vehicle, the XC40, is available in 3 trims, right? You can get it in a gasoline version. You can get it in this EV version, which they call the Recharge up until recently. And there's also a hybrid version of the vehicle. So as I said, pretty substantial looking vehicle with the charge port on the driver. Rare, much like Tesla does, and given that it has access to the Tesla supercharger network, that's a good thing. One of the features that I like is the fact that I can, use my foot to open the trunk area. And as you can see, it's a pretty spacious trunk. I'm not going to get into it here. It opens up and partitions and allows you to hang grocery bags. There's a 12-volt accessory outlet. There's a pass-through, and of course you can fold it down. And then up here, you can either just close it or close and lock. There's the Recharge badging. I wanted to give you a sense of the interior here. This has black, we'll call it vegan leather, and Alcantara-like center inserts for the seating. And this does have heated seats on the outboard seats here. We've got 2 USB-C ports down there, along with manual adjustment knobs. I do like the two-tone look here. It's actually a tri-tone look with, a dark gray, black, and then we've got this turquoise interior that goes through to the flooring and even the floor mats. Same deal up here. We also have manual thigh extensions for the driver and front passenger. We have more of these manual adjustments. But, a pretty small screen. It does not have wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but you can do it wired, connected. It does have a front trunk, which I'll show you real quick. There we go. You have to lift this up, and it can be found under here. Now, one of the first things I did was remove this as well as this compartment, and it reveals a lot more room. You can see how thick this thing is. So by taking that out, you get a lot more room, and it's just a couple of bolts that you remove to do that. And obviously, since we're selling the vehicle, I've put all those things back in. So that's it. You've got a front-facing camera up here for a 360 camera view, and that's it. So it's been a great little daily driver. The flaw with this vehicle, in my opinion, is when new, it's north of 60K. And in this top spec, you know, you're approaching the mid 60s for a vehicle that is rated for less than 240 miles, right? But with the Volvo, you're not necessarily paying for the mileage, you're paying for that quality, that safety, and so on. It does have a pretty big glass roof, and it does open. So coming out of the Fisker Ocean with California mode, this was the closest thing to it, because this thing does open up pretty widely, and you know, everything but the back window rolls down. So you now join me in the cockpit of Ironheart, and this thing is just rock solid. It is also hyper quick. This vehicle is all-wheel drive, so it's got an electrical motor on each axle, and each of those motors puts out 201 horsepower. So this thing, you know, as a compact SUV, is capable of outputting 402 horsepower. Now, it is heavy, weighs well over 5,000 pounds, but man, does this thing fly. It also has the best one-pedal driving calibration of any EV that I've ever driven. And that's saying something, because we've owned 9 EVs in the last 13 and a half years. But it's just flawless. You really don't need to use the brake pedal except for emergency braking situations. I mentioned this sunroof. It has this terrific sunshade that, oddly enough, works automatically, so that if you leave your car parked outside on a sunny day with the screen open, it will actually automatically close, which is an interesting little feature there. But you know, I just swipe my hand up here and it pulls back the screen, right? If I swipe again, now it'll open up the sunroof, and as I said, it's pretty big and allows you, especially this time of year when the weather is nice, to let fresh air into the cabin. So just a really nice place to be in here. I gave you a look at some of the materials. This car is super comfortable. I'll swipe in the other direction and close the sunroof just to ensure it doesn't hamper the sound quality. But as I said, this vehicle is rated for about 222 miles or thereabouts. This time of year, when the weather is consistently in the 70s, 80s, and so on, it gets closer to 240 plus miles of range. But in the winter, you know, it goes in the opposite direction. Volvo does recommend charging to 90%, and in doing so, you know, we maybe get close to 200 miles indicated, but in actual driving, you know, maybe 175, 180 in colder weather. So that's kind of the Achilles heel or flaw, if you will, with this vehicle, is it just doesn't have great efficiency or long range. All right, so having said all of that, there's something else. This vehicle has Android Automotive, right? So I'm on my way to the dry cleaner, so I'll give you a demo of it because it works pretty flawlessly. Hey Google, navigate to Zips Dry Cleaners in Scaggsville, Maryland.
All right, Zips Cleaners, let's go.
Literally that simple, right? And hey Google, turn on my seat warmer to the lowest level.
Sure, changing the seat heater for the driver to the lowest.
Pretty much everything in the car can be done via voice command using the Google Assistant. So that aspect of it has been great, but you know, we've had some issues with the infotainment screen being glitchy and not working at times. We've taken it into service maybe 3 or 4, maybe even 5 times. And they finally got it working pretty well for a period of time, and then occasionally it would, you know, just go blank. My wife also had some challenges with the connectivity of her phone consistently happening when she gets in the car. But the main thing she hated is the fact that there's no phone as key, right? You always have to have your key fob with you in order to drive the vehicle. It does have what I would say is a pretty good mobile app that you can use with it that works really well, but phone is key has become something that you know, people don't want to have to, certainly not my wife, she does not want to have to bring a key fob with her every time she goes for a drive. So those are a little bit about the quirks and features of the vehicle. The driver display is nicely configurable. You can have your maps turn by turn and all that stuff in there. With Android Automotive, you can stream YouTube and other things while in park. So great tech stack, but this screen is a little bit too small and dated for 2025. So it's been a great vehicle for us, but as I said, I was shocked when, you know, just to get a sense of it, I went ahead and put the vehicle's VIN into Carvana earlier this week. Today's Saturday. I think I did that on Monday or Tuesday. And the Carvana offer was $37,200. Now, I couldn't believe what I was seeing because, as I said, a year and 2 months ago, we paid less than 30 grand for this vehicle. In fact, it was closer to 28K. So that offer is, you know, almost 10 grand. And when we bought this car, it only had about 4,500 miles on it. So the mileage was pretty low. We actually had 1,000 more miles on that Fisker Ocean that we had owned for 7 months when we traded it in on this. So it was pretty low mileage, and I thought at, you know, 28K to get out of the Fisker Ocean, almost, you know, as an even swap, done. And it's been great. It helped us get out of that situation, but now we have the opportunity to sell this vehicle and get, you know, almost 10 grand back, more than we paid, right? We don't owe anything on this vehicle, so, you know, that's $37,200 that's going straight into our bank account or investment account. So it seemed like a no-brainer. We're currently in a situation where, you know, as I said, this is my wife's daily driver. We have the Rivian R1T, and then we also have my Tesla Model S 2018 100D. And that's a car that I'm this close to getting rid of finally. So definitely subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can hear about the transition out of that Tesla vehicle, the why, the how, the what that I'm considering going to for my next vehicle. So definitely subscribe to hear and see that story. So yeah, that's the story here with this this Volvo. This vehicle helped us get out of the ocean, you know, almost on an even trade, and now it's allowing us to, frankly, recoup quite a bit of the losses, essentially all the losses, because we lost about 30 grand on the Fisker Ocean, and we're obviously getting 37 for this vehicle. So I am so thankful for the opportunity to be able to sell this vehicle at that price, and to be able to recoup some of the losses that we took on the Fisker Ocean. We've put a little over 8,000 miles on this vehicle. It's got 12,000 and change on it now, and as I mentioned, we got it with a little over little under 4,500 when we got it. So as I was saying earlier, this has been my wife's daily driver. We've got those three vehicles that I mentioned, the Rivian, the Model S, and this one. And I would rotate between the Model S and the Rivian R1T. You know, obviously I'm a car junkie. I'm an EV junkie in particular. I'm not really interested in any internal combustion vehicles. And so I like the variety to go from, you know, a sports sedan to a high performance EV pickup truck. And by selling this vehicle, you know, now we're down to just those two between my wife and I. But my daughter inherited my wife's Tesla Model 3, which my wife says that's the best vehicle she's ever owned. She just loved the simplicity and the way that it, you know, you just get in and it just works, right? And while my daughter's in college, you know, the car is just sitting, so wifey will have access to that, and I'll again have access to the Rivian R1T again. So, you know, we're saving the electricity of having to charge an extra vehicle. We no longer have to pay insurance on this Volvo. You know, that's a 4-figure number every year. So we don't have to pay that insurance. We don't have to pay to charge it. So those are all savings that we get back in addition to the overall cost in selling it. And the Carvana experience to this point has been super easy. I did everything online without any conversation with anyone. Just uploaded my identification, the registration, photos, and scheduled the transaction to take place today. They gave you the option of either doing a wire transfer or an old school check. And you know, today they're going to do an inspection of the vehicle, and then, you know, we should be leaving there with our check. So to this point, the experience has been great. Shout out to my buddy Adam from Adam's Everything EV, and the founder of EV80 Kit, for recommending Carvana and kind of walking me through what to expect. But let me know what questions you guys have. Nothing against the Volvo XC40. It's a great runabout daily commuter. It's not ideal for longer road trips given the range, but this has been a great vehicle. The quality both inside and out, much better than the Model 3 and Model Y in my opinion. Maybe with the new versions of those vehicles the gap is closed. But comment below any questions or feedback you guys have. Please like and share the video if you think there's anyone out there that might benefit from this type of content. And I really appreciate you guys joining. So I'll see you on the next one.